I bought these 9 broken Game Boy Pokemon games just to see if I could fix them. I was inspired to make this video because of a video that I saw by TronicsFix.
I love Steez.
And he found that one of the legs on this chip right here was consistently unsoldered.
I can do this.
My first step into this repair obviously is to test it to make sure it does in fact not actually work, and just as the customer stated, we have a black screen and nothing after that. So I started with the most basic thing, which is just to clean the game pins with 99% isopropyl alcohol. And now the screen doesn't even go black. The owner explained that this only started happening after an attempted battery swap. Now the battery is still missing, and I'm not sure if this battery is needed to complete a circuit, so I'm going to try installing a battery to see if that works. A very common comment that I get is that a lot of people don't realize that there is batteries inside some of these games. These batteries were used to save your game. Basically, it would supply a constant amount of power to the SRAM, or maybe SRAM, one of the two, and that would keep your save. Eventually, like most technology, it became obsolete as flash memory was more readily available. So with that battery installed, we're going to test it one more time. And it didn't fix a thing. So what we're going to do is check the legs on each chip to ensure that none of them are loose, exactly as TronicsFix suggested. I did a Steez solid check on every single leg of every single chip to see if I could find anything wrong. And to my surprise, I didn't find a single loose leg, so I started looking elsewhere. On a close inspection, I was able to find what looked like corrosion on some traces. Now if the corrosion has chewed through the trace, then there's an interruption in the signal and the game's not going to read. So my first suspect trace is this one here. It goes behind this chip. Now what I do when it goes behind the chip, if you can't actually see it, is I just do something I like to call like a blind search, where I'll just kind of go through each leg on the chip here just to see if I get a tone. And if it doesn't work, then we might have a break. If not, then I might just not go to the chip. But there we go. So it bongs out to this one here. So that trace is good. So we'll move over to our next suspect trace, which is this one. Again, it's behind a chip. So I'm just going to do like a blind search here. All right, 4th pin from the left. I have a signal, so it's not that one. And then another suspect trace was this one. That one's good. I'm going to go to the one just below that. And that's good as well. Now those 3 traces all had continuity, but because there's evidence of damage or corrosion on this board, I went through every single trace to ensure that each one had continuity. And each trace did, so I couldn't find an issue with this board.
I failed you. I failed you both.
But there is one last thing I can try. Basically a Hail Mary, I'm going to reflow every single pin to see if that fixes my problem. Now what exactly is reflowing? Basically, you're turning solder from a solid into a liquid, and that way it flows back into position. As an example, I have a wooden block, which is going to represent the pad on a board, and a popsicle stick, which is going to represent the leg of a chip on a board. When you solder these together, they're fused, they don't come apart. Over time, they get old and they can sometimes crack, and that will leave a microscopic, itty bitty, tiny little split between the two, or it'll have some contact, just not enough. So for this little demonstration, I'm going to use hot glue as solder and a hot air station as our heat source. So we have our leg and our boards, and they're not connected at all. Now, they will sit like this because the chip is firmly planted to the board, and we're going to add a little bit of heat. And it's basically just that. We're turning a solid into a liquid to fuse some parts and then letting it return back to a solid. Now, this is the last idea I have. If this doesn't work, I don't know where to go from here. Oh my god. Woo! With it now working, the last thing I did was created a save file, turned off the Game Boy, removed the game, put it back in and tested it, and yeah, we have our save. I gave it a quick internal and external cleaning, put it all back together, and got ready to send it off. So I had received, repaired, and filmed this all a few months ago, and this was the first time I had actually worked on a Game Boy cartridge to this extent. Editing it and watching back the footage now, after doing a few more of these repairs, I've come to realize that it most likely wasn't a loose leg that needed to be resoldered down. It was most likely a bridge between two of those legs. And I say this only because this only started after they had done a battery swap. And I've had a couple of those come in where someone has used a little bit too much solder and it caused a bridge and a chip. However, the fix is the exact same. You're just going to add a little bit of heat to that bridge just to break it.
If you like this video, hit the like button there. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button there. But until next time, let's save the consoles. Now remember, I have no formal training in any of this, I just learn as I go, so I encourage you to learn with me, however, don't imitate me without first doing your own research. Take care.